This is my review of the Garmin Virb action camera, which was first announced by Garmin back in August of 2013. It features a completely waterproof and rugged housing, as well as a chroma color display on the actual camera itself, and a larger battery than the GoPro Hero, which of course it is competing with. With the GPS and ANT Plus, Garmin's hoping to appeal to cyclists and other sports enthusiasts, as well as people such as pilots, hikers, trail runners, that sort of thing as well. The Garmin itself comes in two different flavors, the Virb Elite and Virb Basic. The Virb Elite is the white-bodied model, and the Virb Basic is the black-bodied model. The Virb Elite comes with a few special features such as the ANT Plus and GPS. It also comes with built-in Wi-Fi. The Virb Basic comes with all the same video and photo options as the Virb Elite. As you can see in these pictures, the chroma screen is relatively easy to read. There is no backlight, but it does work really well. It's very crisp, and I'm pretty impressed with it. The cameras themselves have a rubberized texture, and they feel very well built. The buttons depress with solid movement, and the recording slider on the left feels very secure and really sturdy. And on the bottom is where you would get to the battery compartment, as well as the micro SD, which is housed underneath the battery. So it does take a little bit of work to get to your micro SD card. Alright, so I've been talking about this ANT Plus and GPS data for the Garmin Elite. And what am I talking about? So basically, ANT Plus is a standard for data transfer between devices such as heart rate monitors, power meters, and other devices that really are used in cycling, running, and other sports. And the Garmin is able to collect just like any GPS watch or GPS computer would. And then later it's able to take this data and it overlays this onto the video itself. Of course, if you go for the Virb Basic, it doesn't have this capability built in. However, the Garmin software will actually allow you to import GPS data and ANT Plus data from a different watch or different computer. So if you have a GPS watch, you can go ahead and import and sync that data to your video. As far as battery life goes, Garmin advertises about a 3-hour battery life. I'll tell you, even with all the sensors on, I went for a 50-mile bike ride on Saturday, and it lasted about 46 miles. When discussing photo quality, I do have to point out that the Virb takes 16 megapixel photos, whereas the GoPro currently only takes 12 megapixel photos. And I must say, these photos look fantastic. As you can see here, the photos are very crisp, very clean. The colors it's well saturated, it's not really oversaturated. The Garmin works well at night, which is a major plus. A lot of times the GoPro comes out with very noisy photos, and it's nice to see these photos really are not noisy, still crisp considering I was just holding it in my hand at the time. One of the coolest features by far of the Virb is what's called the time-lapse mode. And what this does is it allows you to create a video using time-lapse photos. So you set how often, what interval you want a photo to be taken, and it automatically creates a 1080p video from those photo files. So you don't have to go anymore and import all your photos and create your own time-lapse later. It creates the time-lapse for you automatically, which is very nice. It saves a lot of space on your memory card. And it also saves you a lot of post-production time, creating your time-lapses, making sure the settings are right, everything like that. Here's a time-lapse I took from Nashville. Plugged it in, set it by the window, and forgot about it for the afternoon. When I came back in the evening, I had a nice, pretty time-lapse that had taken itself. Of course, pretty photos are nice, but most people who are using an action camera want great quality video as well. I already talked about the ANT Plus and GPS overlay, and so you'll be seeing some of that in some of these sample videos. But overall, as far as the recording video goes, you have a lot of different modes to choose from. You have 1080 all the way down to 720 and WVGA. As far as feet per second, you can do 30 feet per second in 1080, and then in 720 you can do 60 frames per second. However, unfortunately, there's no 120 frames per second in HD. You're only going to get that in the WVGA mode, unfortunately, at this time. This is somewhere that the GoPro definitely has a little bit of an advantage. GoPro is able to do 1080p, even 1080p Super View with 60 frames per second. So if you're looking for slow motion video or capturing high speed video, the Garmin may not be the best option for you, of course. When comparing video between the GoPro and the Garmin within the same video modes, within the same feet per second. The quality really is about the same. The Garmin does have a little bit of a warming tint that it seems to put on the video. However, that's easily corrected in any video editing software that you'll be using. So as you can see, the video is very crisp, very clean. If you put this video next to GoPro footage, you'd be very hard pressed to guess which one was which, and I really don't think that you could tell a difference, honestly. Now, of course, when you're getting into the higher feet per second or the 4K or the 2.7K that the GoPro can do, of course you're going to notice a little bit of a difference, and I'm sure that Garmin will be addressing that in future Garmins. Remember, the Garmin Virb is waterproof even without a housing, so you don't have to worry, you don't have to fuss about getting it wet without its case on, anything like that. And as you can see, in low light mode, low light areas, the Garmin Virb does do very well. I'm very impressed with the low light ability of the Garmin. Here again, you can see some of the data overlay that we're talking about. Now, I put a whole bunch of different data on this screen just to kind of show you the different capabilities that the Garmin has. Here you see speed, heart rate, cadence, pace, elevation, the percent grade, as well as G-forces and braking and acceleration. So obviously you're not always going to want to have all that data there, but it's all available, it's all able to be used. And of course all of these overlays are customizable. You can change the colors, you can change if they're transparent or not, you can change what size gauges to use, what type of gauges. You actually change between analog and digital style gauges as well. There's lots and lots of choices, and of course you can save all those as custom overlays, so you don't have to go through and edit them every single time. Now, I talked a little bit about the frames per second, and I just wanted to show some of the slowed down footage. This was all taken at 720p, 60 frames per second, and I've slowed it down 50%, and this has been slowed down 30% here. So you can see it is still very smooth. It's great slow motion even at 60 frames per second. It would be great to get 120 frames per second, but in reality there's rarely a time that I actually record in 120 frames per second. And of course, once again, if you look at those colors, I think the Virb does a great job of recording nice color and really crisp video. Some of the features that are built into the Garmin, for one, if you have multiple Garmins, you can use them remotely between each other. So if you start recording with one Garmin, you can have the other one also start recording. And this also works with Garmin watches and Garmin computers as well. So if you have a Garmin cycling computer, you can control your Garmin Virb from that computer. One of the other features on the Garmin Virb on the Elite is a dashboard display, and it actually will show all the metrics you're recording, G-forces, speed, heart rate, on the screen itself while you're working on it. So as much as I like the Garmin Virb, I do have to give you a few of the negatives that I've found so far. First of all, the Garmin Virb Edit software for your PC and Mac, at this point, is not working too well for me. It does a great job of doing GPS overlays. It does an amazing job doing all the overlays of ANT plus data and giving you lots of options for that. I think they worked very hard on that part of the software. Unfortunately, they didn't work very hard on simple color correction and video editing. So one of the most aggravating examples that I can give you is sometimes if you forget to rotate your video before you record it, there's no way to rotate your video in the software right now. So that's one thing that they really need to get on, is really getting this software to a point where it's actually usable to create videos. There's really no transitions. The most you can do is add a title and add music, unfortunately, and that's about all you can do with their software. So, this is something small. It's really not a huge deal, and I'm sure it's something that they'll be fixing and editing in the near future. Alright, so I've spent 3 weeks now with my Garmin Virb. I put my GoPros away, and I just recorded with my Garmin Virb. First of all, I think the Garmin Virb makes excellent photos. At 60 megapixels, these photos are crisp, they're bright, they're clear, it has great color, Second, the GPS and ANT data recording on the Elite model just works. It works well. It's plug and play, and you just can't really mess it up. Third thing is the dedicated photo button. I love that. And the last thing is the 3-hour battery life. It's just a little bit longer than the GoPro, and it's going to give you a little bit longer to get your full ride in, get your full workout in, get your full whatever experience that you're recording, get the entire thing recorded. Of course, there's some other things as well. I really enjoy the sled mount that's used in it, as well as the LCD display. And there's a lot of other things, smaller things as well, that really just work well on the Garmin. As far as things that I don't like, cons, there are a lot less video options in the GoPro. You're not going to get the high frames per second that you get on the GoPro. The iPhone and Android apps are just not quality right now. You can't take a photo with it, and you can't download media onto your device. So that's very unfortunate, but that's something that they can, easily change, and I'm sure they're working on getting updates out as well right now. So it comes down to which one do I recommend. And of course, the Garmin Virb is the first attempt of Garmin to go out into the action cam market, and it's the first one that has ANT Plus and GPS functionality. At the same time, it just doesn't have the same video resolution modes as the GoPro does. And so for many people, the Garmin Virb is an appealing option. For those who want the data overlay, who are interested in collecting that kind of data, such as cyclists, runners, for them this is a very competitive option to the GoPro. If you're more interested in filming really high speed or high frame rate videos, then the Garmin Virb is probably not the best option for you. I think in the future, if Garmin continues to provide updates and builds a stronger smartphone and computer applications, I think the Virb is going to easily become a high contender for best action camera, especially for those interested in the additional data capture and options that the Garmin Virb provides. As updates come out, I'll try to update this review as much as I can, as time allows. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below, and I will do my best to get back to you. And of course, if you have any media that you want to share, any cool videos and these awesome photos from your Garmin Virb, feel free to upload them over at verbvideos.com, and we will add them to our blog and feature them on the website.